Good afternoon, everybody. It's a Friday here on the East Coast. Mr. Matthew and myself are here. And Matt, I'm sorry about last night. A lot of broken-hearted Boston fans, but you know, uh, making the playoffs was cool, and that's a very team with nothing but a great deal of future coming down the road.
Yeah, like there's a lot of work for the front office to do this offseason, just in terms of you gotta take some pieces out to make things fit. Like their roster, it feels a bit clunky right now, just in the way that it's constructed. So they'll have work to do in the offseason. That's not the point right now. The team they had, I think it would be pure like sunshine and rainbows thoughts to have thought that they would win a World Series. Like,
right.
If they were to have somehow made the World Series, it still would be really tough to beat whoever came out of the NL, just the way your roster is constructed. So I really did think that the better team won that series. I was very nervous after we did not win Game 2 going to Game 3, just because it felt like you dealt with a lot of uncertainty and a team that wasn't really hot offensively getting just another opportunity to have to go put up runs when they weren't swinging the bats very well.
Right. Well, and luck has a lot to do with how things work out. And as we were talking in the pre-show, had a ball been hit or a couple of balls been hit, maybe 6 inches or a foot in the other direction, maybe they get out of that inning. Maybe it's not a big inning. But you also prefaced, and I'll let you speak on this, that actually the series might have been lost in Game 2.
Yeah. Yeah, the Red Sox had a 3-2 lead on the Yankees when Jarren Duran dropped the – I'm not going to say it was routine because by no means was it routine, but it's a play that 98% of left fielders in the major leagues are going to make on a very routine basis. Like, it wasn't an overly difficult play, and he just booted it. And like that was really your turning point. The game was tied. You didn't really get any offense out of that after. So it was just a really it was a momentum shifting kind of play that stayed throughout the rest of the series.
We talk a lot about unknown heroes, right? We had mentioned that on Wednesday. This kid Schiller, who pitched for Yankees last night, a Boston kid, a kid who played at Northeastern University in Boston, he pitched a hell of a game.
Yeah, he did. Like it was your duel of the rookies, and one had much more dominant and overpowering stuff like that. That's been one of the Red Sox Achilles heels all season is velocity. Like if you can place your velocity, which he could, then they're going to have trouble hitting it. And I mean that showed that up and down the lineup. They struck out 12 times. So it was like the perfect kind of guy to go attack that lineup. If there's going to be a guy that lacks the experience, he was going to be able to settle in because his velocity gets them where they were weakest.
Well, and on the other side, with the Red Sox rookie pitcher last night, obviously it's easy to say this, but just watching on TV, you could kind of see that when things started to go kind of wonky for him, he just was very uncomfortable, and you're like, I felt for the guy. I mean, he was pitching a hell of a game for him, and all of a sudden things were going, not his way. It wasn't like the Yankees were smacking the ball over the park. They just hit a series of ground balls, and it just, as I said, a foot to the left, a foot to the right could have gone either way. But that kid didn't pitch a bad game either.
Yeah. And I do wonder if it had the Red Sox been able to put a little more pressure on Schlittler, if if things like if he would have started to be like the rookie in the arena, like
Right.
feeling the moment. But in terms of like having runners on first, it like that didn't bother him one bit. Like
Yeah.
didn't really seem to phase him. So like it was a dead offense the whole night. So it's something that they're going to have to, in the promise of like chasing the pennant, chasing
Right.
series this year that the front office made time and time again.
Mm-hmm.
When you trade Rafael Devers in the middle of the season
Right.
and you don't get some kind of offensive replacement for him,
Right.
you eventually feel it. And
Mm-hmm.
like for a while there, Roman Anthony was his offensive replacement.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. It's also unfair to place all of your pressure and expectations on a 21-year-old rookie.
100%. He did a hell of a job, and if I'm a Red Sox fan, I'm looking forward to seeing him in the rotation for a long time to come.
Yeah.
So there are good things to take away from it, and sometimes not so much, but it moves on. And speaking of moving on, let's move to the National League. Let's start with there. The division series, first game up tomorrow on TBS 2:08 p.m. for the first pitch. Is the Brewers and the Cubs. Now the Cubs won the season series, but obviously they didn't win the division. We again talked about if you want brands, which it's funny, and I want your opinion on this. A lot of people say, "Well, we want to see some of these new teams. Like, we want to see somebody else. I'm tired of watching the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Dodgers, Cubs at all, right?" But when it comes down to the actual ratings, they don't.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see with all due respect to the fans and the teams, nobody wants to see a Mariners Brewers World Series.
Yeah. Like I think that kind of shows, and I don't know the exact numbers, you may know off the top of my head, but 2023 World Series between the Diamondbacks and the Rangers versus the 2024 World Series between the Dodgers and the Yankees. I can guarantee you the Dodgers and the Yankees series may have done like double the numbers.
Well, you're almost right. Okay. It did 65% better
Yeah.
than the season before.
Yeah. So
And
massive increase.
yeah. So basically, again, you want to see your big brands. I mean, that's, so many people grow up. I mean, you live in Georgia, right?
Mm.
Yet you're a Red Sox fan.
Yeah.
Okay. I know people who live, hell, I'm a Dodger fan. I grew up 3,000 miles away from the Dodgers. It's just a team that you gravitate to as you're a kid, whether it's your family has something to do with it or no one has anything to do with it. You just happen to like them. You do gravitate to the big names, and a lot of kids were Braves fans who never set foot in Atlanta, in large part because when they grew up, TBS had the Braves on all the time, or the Cubs were on WGN all the time when they were super stations. So you come to becoming a fan, not necessarily geographically as much as you just find a team that you like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the Cubs have like a much. I know they're still in the Midwest, and I think a lot of it has to do with the city of Chicago and the market that is.
Right.
But the Cubs are very much like a national brand. Not necessarily they have like the same financial input as teams like the Yankees and the Mets and the Dodgers, or the Red Sox if John Henry decides to wake up in an off season. So, but they still have that same like the popularity and the eyeballs and the name recognition is the same as all those teams.
Well, and for many years they were the lovable losers, right? The Cubs couldn't get past. They get into the playoffs, but there's the curse and all kinds of stuff that comes. A curse of the Billy Goat, and all that. It made for a great story, and it attracted a lot of casual fans.
Like I think the only people that were upset that the Cubs won the World Series in 2016 were Cardinals fans.
Well, yeah, get over it.
That's about it.
Nobody's won more World Series in the National League than the Cardinals. So, they can give it, they can give it up to the Cubbies for at least one time.
Mhm.
Dodgers. We'll get to Dodgers Phillies in just a second. Um, I I do feel that the Cubs, um, are guys that I do think they can get by Milwaukee. I just think that it's all. I mean, as cliche as it sounds, it's going to come down to pitching.
Yeah, and but that's still my biggest issue with the Cubs. Is their starting
Hmm.
pitching. Their starting pitching played fantastic this past
Hmm.
week in the wild card series against the
Yeah.
Padres. Like they did a really good job. And when you look at like the frontline starters in terms of Milwaukee, I feel better about Milwaukee starters just on paper.
Hmm.
Freddie Peralta had another really good year. Jacob Mizorowski showed, time and time again what he could do. Now he's a
Hmm.
rookie, and he had a lot of ups and downs going throughout this season. Well, there were some bad starts in there, but overall, you got a pretty good sample of who he is.
Right. I think if you're a Cubs fan, it's going to be Seiya Suzuki and Kyle Tucker. Those are the two key guys to watch. If they have good series, then I think they can go, and get past it. Um,
Yeah,
it's the the stat that's interesting um, is that the Brewers pitching staff has gone 6 for 50 which is a .120 with 22 strikeouts, a 4.28 OPS in 13 games this season against the Cubs. So they're gonna have to work on that as
yeah,
they move forward.
yeah. I also think like in order for the Cubs to win this series, you have to have a certain level of like base running.
Hmm.
And Nico Horner's done his job. You kind of trust Kyle Tucker to figure it out,
Hmm.
considering he just came back from an injury. So you
Right.
expect him to look a little better this series. But I think what you got yesterday in that game 3 with Pete Crow Armstrong, you need that to carry over because he provides his own value defensively. Like
Hmm.
that's always going to come with him. But in order for him to be much more valuable as a hitter, like yeah, hitting home runs would be nice, but just get on base. Like
Hmm.
like your speed is what can make you a difference maker, regardless
Right.
of whether or not you have the power stroke. Like you can be a difference maker without hitting home runs. Just get on base and make the pitcher uncomfortable while you're on base.
Hmm. Well, tomorrow up the street here, um, the bank is going to be full. The Phillies and the Dodgers are going to play. Shohei Ohtani will be on the hill. That game, if you want to watch it, on TBS, starting time at 6:38 p.m. So that's the first pitch, 6:38 p.m. Phillies went 4-2 against the Dodgers in the regular season. They took the series in Philly, and then they took, which was in April. Then they took the series out in Los Angeles. Um, basically three. They took those two series out, one in Philly and one in Dodgerland. I'm curious to be. I don't know how many people have ever been to the bank and Citizens Bank Stadium in Philadelphia. That is during the summer. That's a home run hitter's dream. Um, I'm wondering just how um, it's going to play at this time of the year. Um,
Mhm.
the Phillies don't need. I mean, the Phillies can hit home runs, obviously. Then so can the Dodgers. But I think both of these teams can play. They can play both. They can play small ball, and they can play. They can go home run if that's what is
Mhm.
necessary. But I think this is going to be a really fascinating series.
Yeah, like I think in terms of just pure starting pitcher lineup,
Hmm.
there's no one better in the major leagues that's set up for a playoff series like the Phillies. Their 1-2-3 can go toe to toe with literally anyone's 1-2-3. Zach
Hmm.
Wheeler, Ranger Suarez, Christopher Sanchez, two of them lefties. And then you got Zach Wheeler that throws 100 and just
Hmm.
disgusting stuff. So in terms of that, like I think they've got the Dodgers outclassed in terms of their starting pitching. To be honest with you, their bullpen though is a problem. Their big addition was Johan Duran, and if I remember correctly, he's out. Like I
Yeah.
think he had that leg injury and he's done for the year. So that really hurts, and they've got to play a little better defensively. Like I know that Nick Castellanos, they tried to stir up the drama or whatever, but Nick Castellanos is also not a very good defender in right field just because he doesn't have great range or arm strength.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of that, their defense is going to be like it's going to be interesting. I feel like they're going to have to out hit the Dodgers. They're going to have to out. They need to have their starters go deep
Mm-hmm.
and they have to out hit the Dodgers. Like they have to hit home runs and have their starters go deep.
One of the things that the Phillies have that the Dodgers have not. I don't want to say they can't match because they can, but uh, the Phillies will run on you. They'll
Mhm.
cause grief on the bases.
Yeah.
Um, and my man Trey Turner, who one of the one of the nicest and actually funniest players I've ever met in Major League Baseball in his tenure with the Nationals when I get to know him. I love him. The kid is he's like a little he and Bryce both. It's like those guys would go out and play if they weren't getting paid anything.
Hmm.
They just love baseball. And you put Trey Turner on base and he's going to drive you nuts. So we'll see how, and we know Shohei Ohtani can run.
Yeah.
Um, but
That's
go
they
ahead,
they didn't run him as much this year.
Shohei or
Hmm.
Trey.
Shohei.
Yeah.
He didn't have
Well, I
his
mean, yeah,
swing
they kind of
way down.
they kind of, there was a play. I can't remember what it was early in the season. I don't know whether you remember or not. He went sliding into second base head first with both of his hands right at the bag, right,
Hmm.
and just a set for a split second, it almost looked like the shortstop. And I can't remember who they're playing. Like the shortstop came down, with his foot for the bag, legit. He wasn't trying to
Hmm.
step on him, but he just missed Shohei's left hand.
Yeah.
And it's like from that point forward, it's like, the first base coach just basically has a tether on him. It's like,
Yeah.
you're going to run when the ball's hit. You're not going to run anytime
Yeah.
because we can't afford you to, to hurt your hands, for God's
Well,
sake.
and that's what last year in the World Series didn't he have what was it like it was like a partial labrum tear or something from sliding into second against the Yankees?
Yeah, well, yeah, coming into the
Something with
series,
his shoulder.
actually, I think it was during the playoffs that he did that,
Yeah.
and when he came into the series, he was, obviously nobody was better than Freddie Freeman,
Hmm.
but he wasn't Shohei during that time, and I think that the Dave Roberts kind of put the no run rule for him. Says
Yeah.
don't get yourself in trouble.
I mean,
Um,
as you should. Like,
right,
there's no. If you really want him to contribute
right.
throwing like pitching as well,
Hmm.
then don't have him run. I understand, the complete player he is, but like it just feels like such an unnecessary aspect given like the uncertainty people have with the rules and how to
Right.
guard second base now.
I remember you when Davy Johnson was managing, and basically Scherzer got on base, he got a hit, and Max stole second. And when he came into the dugout after the inning, uh, to grab his glove to pitch, I remember Davy Johnson just about reaming him out, like, "I do not want you running. We'll get your runs.
Yeah.
Don't do this. Okay, this is not something we want you to do.
Yeah.
Stay away from it." So we'll see if Shohei can fight the battle from that standpoint. Let's
Mhm.
move over to the American League where the Jays and the Yankees get underway, and that's on Fox tomorrow. First game on Fox is at 4:08. The first pitch. Jays and the Yankees, they finished with identical records, but Toronto, won because they had that 8-5 tiebreaker in the head-to-head games. These are two teams that do not like each other.
Yeah.
They genuinely don't, and we might see a little bit of dust ups from time to time. Especially Bo Bichette. For some reason, Bo has this thing where he definitely does not like the Yankees, and he makes it well known.
Yeah. What's it called? I know that Vladdy had said that he would never play for the Yankees.
Right. Yeah.
So that was another thing.
That's another tip. Yeah.
Yeah. But I know that the Blue Jays probably have a lineup better suited to hit with the Yankees than the Red Sox did. I don't think they have the pitching staff to pitch with the Yankees like the Red Sox did. Like, I feel like it's two very inverse. That you match that with, it felt like Toronto kind of was scraping by. They have a very low run differential. It felt like they were on teams that were two different paths. Like, the Yankees finished the season strong, and the Blue Jays had to hold on for the division, like at the last second. Now, last time we saw that in the series, it was this just finished up yesterday between the Tigers and the Guardians, and the team that had to fight and ended up actually ultimately losing the division lead, and the Tigers won the series.
Right.
So that could be something that plays no part in this, but I still think the frontline pitching, and a lot was made about how bad the Yankees bullpen was throughout the season. They don't look like that now. Like, when their bullpen came in against the Red Sox, save the Luke Weaver outing, they were good. Like, everybody was really good. I think they gave up one run outside of the inning where Luke Weaver gave up two. So, it's, if their bullpen continues to pitch that way, I see no reason to pick the Blue Jays in this series.
Right. My buddy Dave Sims, who for many years, 18 years as a matter of fact, was the voice of the Seattle Mariners and now is the voice of the New York Yankees. I sent him a text the other day and said to him, give me something on the Mariners. And he sent me one line text back. They said, they're the best team nobody knows. And he's probably right. Not a lot of people know much about the Seattle Mariners. They went 4-2 against the Tigers this season. It's the first time they've met in the playoffs. And, they've been a team that just rakes. I mean, the Mariners just hit. They hit. They don't care who's pitching. They seem to be able to score runs. They've out, from the home run department, quick stat, they've out homered Detroit 238 to 198 in the regular season. And they've got pitching depth. So, again, we were talking earlier about, well, you want your big brands in there, which is great. We do. But, we may end up with the Mariners in the midst of this whole thing because that's just the way things are looking.
Yeah, I think coming into it, I thought that it, just from an on-paper standpoint, the Mariners are the most complete team in the AL. Because you know what they have in their bullpen. They can run you 4 deep in their starters. You go Castillo, Gilbert, Wu, George Kirby's there. They got a couple guys too that, when their number's called, they can absolutely go out there and shove. So their frontline pitching is really good. They've got a solid bullpen. And then this is the season where the Mariners decided to go all in on the lineup. Like, when they went out and they got Josh Naylor and Eugenio Suarez from the Arizona Diamondbacks at the deadline, that had to be your signal of, we're going all in, because they went out, they had holes in their roster, and they went and filled them. And they needed bats, and they got big bats, bats that they've got power bats, is what I'm trying to say.
There you go. Rye Cape. Rye, good to see you, buddy. I'm doing fine. Hope you are as well. Used to love David Justice. I assume you mean when he was on the Braves. And he's our Philly guy. Sold out a scrimmage on Wednesday at the bank. I would not be surprised, Cape. They absolutely are. They're definitely a lot of Phillies fans in Philadelphia waiting for this series to begin. Rye, since you're out there, Matthew Rye is an expert on NASCAR. As a matter of fact, he writes a lot about NASCAR. So, since we got you, Rye, when you get a second, type into the messages who you think is going to win the NASCAR Cup Series this year. The best driver, best team, whatever you want to put it. I'd be interested in finding out what you think. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, we're going to downshift, no pun intended, and talk about college football. Tonight is homecoming at USF. Charlotte is in town. That game's going to be on ESPN2 at 7 o'clock. Courtney Lyle and Renee Iligolia has the call. Western Kentucky is in Wilmington to play Delaware. That's a 7 o'clock start on CBSSN. John Sadek is calling that game with Kyle Long. We got New Mexico and San Jose State. That's going to be a 10 o'clock game on FS1. Trent Rush, Mark Heilich on the call. West Virginia, BYU, 10:30 on ESPN. Armin Schrush and Andre Ware. Colorado State, San Diego State, 10:30 on CBS Sports Network. Chris Lewis, Robert Turbin on the call. Other than my Bulls playing tonight, West Virginia, BYU might be entertaining. I'm not sure I'll stay up to watch Colorado State play San Diego State, although both teams are pretty good.
Yeah, the West Virginia BYU game. West Virginia isn't very good this year, and they've had some injuries not help how not good they are.
Mm-hmm.
So they lost their starting quarterback to injury. They lost their starting running back to injury. Like their season, you can pretty much go ahead and chalk it up. They lost the two most talented pieces on that offense. But in terms of the Colorado State, San Diego State, I actually had this one as like it's not like I have any model. It's just purely a feel thing. The way San Diego State's defense is played, it feels like 6.5 is a very low number for them. You know, at home against a Colorado State team that hasn't been very good this year.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting situation for them. Let's go to the Saturday games. In the 12 o'clock window, ABC's got Kentucky and your gang, Georgia. I would think, A, that you're going to be there, and B, that this is one of those games where you don't want to beat Kentucky because Georgia lost last week, and they're normally when Kirby's teams lose a game, you don't want to be the team that plays them next.
Yeah, Kentucky's a good team. I don't know how this is going to play out. Like I think 20 is a lot. Kirby's not really a guy that chases a number. He's very content of once he gets a lead that he's happy with. We're going to run the football. We'll pass it occasionally. So I would expect more of the same. Like I expect Georgia to get up by 2 scores probably, you know, somewhere around halftime. Like I don't think this is going to be one where you just out of the blocks, Georgia just smokes them. I just don't know if the team has the same kind of like they're not carrying the same kind of dominance they had carried back when you were accustomed to that. Like every game has the potential to be a dogfight, and now this is probably one of I think I can safely say Kentucky is probably the worst football team in the SEC. So this is one where you absolutely have to handle your business. They should handle their business. I believe they're going to handle their business. So I think it's going to be a bit of a boring start on ABC.
I kind of like the one on CBS, which is Air Force and Navy, and this basically they're going to play in Annapolis. This one, and then the Army Navy game. This is for the Commander's Trophy, and that means a lot to these to the teams coming to us from the academies, and Air Force and Navy. I think it favors Navy, although Air Force has got a pretty decent team. Navy's got a very good team this year. Army had a good team last year, so the service academies have definitely shown up over the past few years as being not just you can't just mark them as a win on your schedule.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Navy is 4-0 right now. They are in a conference, so they're now
Navy's in the American.
Yeah, so now I mean they're firmly in like a conference race They keep playing well. Air Force is 1-3 though. Like it feels like, in terms of the talent level of these teams, just like on a rather consistent basis, Army and Navy carry a different like tier of talent compared to where Air Force is, generally speaking, and it looks like that's going to be a similar case again this year. Like the Commander in Chief's trophy is going to come down to Army.
So we got in the 3:30 spot. We talked about this on Wednesday. This is where game day is going to be in Tuscaloosa, see Alabama and Vanderbilt. I'll be honest, I like Vanderbilt, but I'm not going to go out of my way to watch this game.
Yeah, like I would say it's definitely the second most interesting game of that slate. I think Florida and Texas is a better game.
I agree.
I think it's
They're on ESPN, by the way.
Yeah.
The ABC is just to get the network straight, so everybody knows where to find them. Vandy in Alabama is on the big station on ABC, and then Texas is at the Swamp to face the Gators at ESPN. This is a survival game for those two teams.
Yeah, it is, and like Texas has one loss, and then they went and they did what they should have done. They beat up on the three, really bad football teams they played, and it took until the very last one for Arch to, I guess, get his swagger back by flexing on the UTSA DB. I still don't believe in Arch. I would like to see it against somebody other than UTSA personally. So because for all the talk about how bad Florida is, like they still have a really good defense. That defense hasn't been the problem. Only gave up 20 when they were in, Death Valley against LSU. They didn't really give up a whole lot against Miami. I know they scored a couple late there and, looked a little more lopsided than it really was throughout the majority of that football game. Their defense is good. Like, if the home crowd shows up and they can get a score early, then this is a game that I think is very winnable for Florida. I picked Florida last night, and I'll pick them again.
I'll tell you, I think from a Gator standpoint, the Gator fans are very excited to see Texas show up in the Swamp. It's never happened before, and these teams have have tremendous amount of pride going into the game. They want, the fan bases have long been argued about, Texas, who's got the better players, Texas, Florida, blah, blah, blah. So this game, you're talking about showing up. The Gators will show up. We'd have trouble getting a ticket into the Swamp this week because that Texas team in Florida, it's going to be interesting to say the least in that standpoint. I'm looking to see if there's anybody else that's playing in that window that is of interest. There's a game. It's on the Big Ten Network. No, I'm sorry. Is it on the Big Ten Network? No, it's on the ACC Network.
No.
Syracuse at SMU. I might just be back and forth flipping just to see what's going on there. That's Syracuse took out Clemson. SMU is I don't know what SMU is, to be honest, at this point. We'll see, but definitely an interesting game from a standpoint of what's going on in the ACC. Washington goes to Maryland. That Maryland is undefeated. I don't know. Washington looked that good against Ohio State last week, and they were playing at home. Traveling all the way across country to play Maryland, I don't know what that's going to look like.
Well, I'll go back and I'll touch on the Syracuse SMU. When Syracuse lost their quarterback, it kind of felt like they lost their season because their defense couldn't stop anybody. Right. Well, with the exception of Clemson, which, that's more of an indictment on how Clemson's offense looks than I think it is for Syracuse's defense. So I expect SMU to kind of run up and down the football field, and Syracuse won't be able to keep up.
Won't be able to keep up with them?
Yeah. Then that Washington Maryland game is Maryland's just kind of weave their way through the schedule.
Right.
Who's favored in this game?
Don't pay attention. Just let us fly under the radar here.
I might be inclined to pick Maryland. I like that. That's a hard one to play Ohio State at your house. That's a really physical football game. Talk about like hangovers from playing physical teams. There may be
Mm-hmm.
a hangover for Washington, like physically having
Mm-hmm.
to play Ohio State in that physical game, and then travel across the country to play Maryland
Right.
the following week. So I might be leaning towards Maryland here.
Mm-hmm. I would think that this could be a big win for the Terrapins. Yeah. Let's move to the prime time window. Miami, Florida State. We talked about on Wednesday how this is a rivalry game. It's much more important from Miami, Florida State point than Florida State, Florida is. I mean, these two teams are arch rivals. Miami's going to roll into Doak Campbell Stadium and feel the force of every Seminole there. Um, and it's a if Miami's going to be a potential, they're ranked number 3 in the country. If they're going to be a potential championship team, then they got to take care of business and they got to take care of Florida State.
Yeah, Florida State. This one feels like one that's kind of a tough read, just because of what you saw from Florida State.
Yeah.
Like you've seen two variable differences. Because I know people were like, well, that the Alabama that Florida State played is a different Alabama than what they are today. Which maybe you're wrong, maybe you're right, but you still can't take away what they did week 1 against Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I see they dropped them to 18, so the AP poll overreacted and
Right, as always. Yes.
4.5 for Miami feels like a lot on the road for a team that the offense has looked all right. I think it's fooled some people though. Like I don't think it's as good as people thought it was after that first game against Notre Dame. And I think given home field, the fact that they just lost last week and the fact that they're not that wildly separated in talent, I don't think. I think Florida State nailed it in the transfer portal. But here's the key: is these are all things that I think. They're not 100% nailed down. We've played 4 games of football. But if what I think is true, then Florida State wins this football game.
Right. The one thing I'm impressed with Miami is how good the defense has come on. The last couple of years, Miami's had a terrible defense. This year, Cristobal went out, got himself a new defensive coordinator, basically got him entire new defensive staff except for Jason. So so Miami played hard to get, players in the portal to play defense. It'll be interesting. You know more than I do about Carson Beck. This is about as big a, stage as Carson Beck's going to be on to watch in a prime time rivalry game. I mean, is this the kind of game that Carson Beck shows that, hey, look, anybody who doubted that I can play, is that the kind of game he's going to step up and be?
Well, I would say it is going to feel like a step of growth if Carson Beck steps up and plays, the type of football that you would hope that he plays if Miami's going to win. Because last year with he played well at Texas, he played pretty well at Texas, but he played well in the second half against Alabama on the road, and then he didn't play well at all at Ole Miss. Like those are kind of the ones that I've circled. Go back to 22 Auburn. He played well in the last quarter of the football game. Like his road performances haven't always matched what he's necessarily done when he's comfortable at home. Or when I say that, I think he has a tendency to start slower on the road. And that could be a problem if they get behind Florida State, because when you get behind teams, then you tend to start pressing. And he always gives you, regardless of where he's playing, there's going to be 1 or 2 throws that kind of make you like, oh God, what are we doing here? Type throws. Those are going to come regardless for Carson Beck. How bad are they? Is it an overthrow where you just miss a play, or is it a pick? Like that variable difference is going to be extremely important on Saturday. So I think on the lines of scrimmage, Miami's better. But I also trust if anyone's going to be able to get to really spread this Miami defensive front out and get to the edges, it's Gus Malzahn.
Yeah. Well, Gus is one of those guys that can drive you nuts with all kinds of different looks. This game is going to be on the ACC network as an altar cast. And this is an interesting group of people that's going to do the game. Taylor Tannenbaum is a play-by-play guy, so that makes sense. Jimbo Fisher, that's a very unique pick, given the fact that he and Florida State did not leave under the best of circumstances. I can't see Jimbo being in any way close to being impartial in this game. Eric McLean and Eddie Royal on the 4-person call of that game. I'm assuming they're doing that from the headquarters up in Charlotte. I doubt that they're coming to Tallahassee, but
Yeah,
that's a that I don't know, man. That's Jimbo Fisher on a calling of an FSU game, man. I don't. That's freaking me. I don't know who came up with that idea.
try something different, I guess.
You think? Yeah. Um, Fox has Colorado at TCU. I don't know what to make of that. I mean, TCU should trounce Colorado. I mean, there's just I don't know. I guess maybe they got him because it's Dion going to TCU. Maybe that's the only game in the Big 12 that they could get that made any sense. But
yeah,
I don't. That's something I'm not going to go out of my way to watch that game.
No, I think TCU should probably win that one pretty comfortably.
Yeah.
Like they still have a really good football team. I know they lost last week to Arizona State on Friday.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But they lost by 3 points. I still think they're one of the best teams in the Big 12.
Well, and they were on the road too, which is a troubled situation with regard to that. Let's pop on over and finish our show today over at the NFL, where last night we saw San Francisco come off the mat and beat a team that many people, myself included, thought were better, and that is, of course, the 49ers. So that's in the books. The Rams lose to the 49ers. Sunday morning, we're getting the NFL Network. It's a Minnesota at Cleveland. That game is being played in London. Minnesota stayed in the UK. They played they lost to the Steelers last week in Ireland. So they cross over and go to England, where they will play in London against a Cleveland team, which I believe you said Flacco's not starting. So it's going to be which one of the rookies are they going to throw out there?
It'll be Dylan Gabriel. Yeah, you want to talk about a
Dylan Gabriel. Okay,
good for the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've been over there, you're fully adjusted.
Right.
There's not some large amount of travel involved this week for the Vikings. And oh, by the way, you get to go against a guy in his first NFL start that also had that travel and stuff. So this one feels like a tailor-made situation for Brian Flores and that defense to just be able to crush whatever offense Cleveland hopes to produce on Sunday. Because
who's Minnesota starting?
I think it's
JJ's hurt.
Carson Wentz should be the guy.
Oh, Carson Wentz. Okay. Everybody's Band-Aid. Yes.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz.
Not
that I don't disagree with you on that, but Cleveland, they've got the number 2 or 3 defense in all of football.
Yeah, their defense is actually really good. Carson Wentz last week, 350 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. So not bad.
No,
definitely could have been better in terms of the turnovers, but yeah, no, Cleveland's defense is very good, and that's going to be hard for. There's a reason the over/under is at 35.5. Yeah, 35.5. Like they're expecting this to be like a 13-7 kind of game,
right?
Like 17-7 even. So
there's a sloppy one.
Yeah, really, really sloppy. And I mean, rightfully so. Neither team has a guy that you can rely on at quarterback. So, the Vikings have a difference maker in Justin Jefferson. I think that would be the biggest separator of the two offenses right now. So, lean Vikings, but also definitely would not be surprised if it's purely a defensive game and Cleveland's able to punch through one time.
Let's move over to 1:00. Jim Nantz and Tony Romo are going to be in Philadelphia, across the parking lot from the bank over at the Lincoln Financial Services Stadium. Denver is in town to take on Philadelphia. I'm not quite sure why that's the A game for CBS, but okay. They're sending Nantz and Romo there. We'll
If
see.
you look at the rest of the 1 p.m. slate, you'll understand why that's the A game.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Yeah,
not a lot going on.
No.
So, like Texans, Ravens,
battle. Yeah, Iron Eagle and J.J. Watt on that one. I don't know what. I mean, Baltimore can't stop anybody at this point. But then Houston hadn't been able to score.
Yeah, so it's the movable object versus the stoppable force.
Right.
So, 2-1-3 football teams. I said last night, we talked about it, that if the Texans lose this football game, they will get much more of like the sky is falling sense to their season than if the Ravens were to lose this football game. Because the Ravens can go off the crux of like, hey, Lamar Jackson was out this week. He's going to come back in another week or two. I don't know the severity of his injury, but I know that he's doubtful. So doubtful means that it's probably less severe than otherwise.
I think that if Baltimore were playing, I don't know, if Baltimore were playing Philadelphia or hell, even Denver for that matter, I think they might, take a chance and put him in there. I think they feel like they can win a game or two without Lamar being in the game and risking further injury. My understanding is with Lamar, it's a strain, and a strain is something that depends on your tolerance of pain. Lamar, I'm absolutely certain, would love to play in this game, but he's
Is it a calf strain?
Yeah.
Yeah, sit.
So I don't think that they want to take any chances on blowing the season by putting him in this football game.
Calf strain is like early indicator for Achilles.
Right.
Always.
So, and you could you don't have to be hit. You can just plant your foot and end up screwed from that standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. Let a calf strain rest. So, no reason to play him there.
Jackson Dart comes to New Orleans to face the Saints, and we will see how the Jackson Dart experiences goes up against New Orleans. That's Andrew Cartellone, Charles Davis, and Jason McCourty on the call for that game.
Yeah, boy, what a treat of a football game. 1-3 New York Giants, 0-4 New Orleans Saints.
Right. That's a game where you basically sell the tickets.
Yeah, the Saints are favored in this game. Like that, I think that's somewhat surprising, given the team they beat last week. But like New Orleans offense hasn't been very good. I think their defense may be a little worse. I don't know. You're comparing really bad against really bad. Like
it's
been great. I think their defense has been a little worse than the offense. So,
the reason I thought that New Orleans was being favored only was because they're at home.
Yeah.
I mean, this is no matter where you go, this is a bad game. They can play it on Pluto and still be a bad game.
Yeah.
So, unless you're a big Giants fan. I don't know what time the Yankees are playing on Sunday. Maybe the Giants are in trouble from a standpoint of that the Yankee fans, a lot of the Yankee fans are Giant fans. So maybe they're going to just sit there and go, you know what? Maybe we'll just sit this one out and go find a watering hole to watch the Yankees play in Toronto. The late games. We'll start with the Buccaneers and Seattle game. That's That's a 4:30 game. Kevin Harlan and Trent Green up in Seattle for that game. That's a long, long, long flight from Tampa to Seattle. It's almost as long a flight from Tampa to Seattle as it is from Tampa to London. So my understanding is that they've gone already. They are normally you're supposed to be there for Sunday game Saturday. Tampa Bay left. Actually, they left this afternoon, so they'll be there sometime tonight. It'll be an interesting game because I mean the Buccaneers lost that game to Philly last week. They played. It was kind of the tale of two halves. The first half they blew everything up, and on the second half they did pretty well, except for they ended up getting that pick in the end zone from that kind of stopped the momentum toward any kind of late surge. Seattle has been inconsistent to say the least, and I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. It's a game that if the Buccaneers want to be considered a serious contender, you go on the road and you beat this team. They should be able to beat Seattle even at home.
Yeah, I think the problem, or what gives me the most pause for the Bucs right now, is when I saw Bucky Irving pop up on that injury report earlier this week. That would give me some pause simply because the pass defense for the Seahawks is really good. Like with the guys they have on that back end, they're one of the best units in terms of the pass defense. Without Mike Evans, and if Bucky Irving isn't 100% and you can't really establish that run game, then you're going to have a problem if you get one-dimensional throwing the football against the Seattle pass defense.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Fox has got 3 games in the 1 o'clock window that I don't know that anybody wants to watch. Dallas at the Jets. Jason Benedetti and Greg Olson on the call there. Vegas at Indianapolis. Chris Myers and Mark Sanchez has got that one. Miami gets Carolina at home. I'm sorry. Miami goes to Carolina. Eric Collins and Mike Sheriff on that call. Of those 3, there's none of the. I wouldn't want to watch any of those 3 games, unless I'm a fan of one of those teams.
I got Brock Bowers on my fantasy team in my room.
Oh, okay. Well, then you're gonna watch it for that.
Maybe that'll be our regional game we get from Fox. But other than that, man, like maybe Cowboys Jets. I mean, that looking at that record, 1-2-1 versus 0-4 is just a.
I'm looking at the map. You get Dallas and the Jets.
We get Dallas and the Jets. That's going to be wow. That's. I mean, that's just 2 really bad football teams.
Not actually. I would say I'm looking at the map now. 80% of the country gets a Dallas and Jets game.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that is an
torture.
Ugly that's I feel bad for the execs there at Fox. That's a tough slate to get given.
Yeah. The late game. This could be interesting. Washington is in Los Angeles to face the Chargers. Kevin Burkhardt, Tom Brady. This is the A game for Fox. This is the game Jalen Daniels will be back under. I was going to say under center, but probably not. He's going to be in shotgun formation against a good Chargers team. We'll see. Washington was competitive last week without him, but I think they feel much more comfortable with him, and that's the game that will be seen by most of the country, except for Atlanta and it's kind of odd. You've got both coasts get the Buccaneers and Chargers game, but then the Detroit Cincinnati game, you end up getting pretty much the Midwest in that one. So probably because both teams are in the Midwest, I assume. So that's the way that goes. But I don't know how Atlanta gets into the Midwest on that one. That's kind of a bizarre situation. Kevin Kugler and Daryl Johnson on the call that one. I mean, Detroit should win that game. Cincinnati is down to their third string quarterback, so I had no idea.
That and their defense isn't like they're not very good defensively either.
No.
Again, they're not fantastic. So it feels like one that should easily go Detroit's way. Now, all the ones that feel like they should easily go one way in the NFL feel like they always end up being a lot closer than they should be.
Yeah.
And then LA and Washington, I think is interesting just because you got LA coming off that loss to New York.
Right.
And what was like that's a bad loss for LA.
Yeah, it is.
And how talented,
especially for them.
Yeah, with how talented the team is. I get it. Jackson Dart sometimes the quarterback can give a spark to the offense, but it wasn't really Jackson Dart's offensive spark. It was more the Giants' defense just stopped the Chargers on offense, which feels like something that should be unacceptable. Justin Herbert turned the football over, and that was really the biggest difference in the game. So another bad pass defense for the Commanders. So that should get your Chargers offense back on track. And I don't think Jaden Daniels coming back, this being his first start back, is going to be enough to keep up with the Chargers.
Not if they're Harbaugh's going to be, he's going to he's making the adjustments that screwed him over last week. So he's not going to let that happen again. The Sunday night game is New England at Buffalo on NBC. Buffalo arguably is the best team in football at the moment. New England has had some spots, but again, New England's going to Buffalo. It's a conference game. It should be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah. Two really good quarterbacks in this game. Between Drake May I think he's slowly starting to get his rhythm a little bit this year. But obviously what Josh Allen in Buffalo does week in and week out speaks for itself. So they should win this football game. I think it might be a little closer than that 8.5 line that they've got right now.
Is that what the line is now?
Yeah, just because it feels like, when these teams come to Buffalo, they always keep it close. Buffalo's defense still isn't fantastic. I think it's not as bad as people may have thought after week one, what they gave up to Baltimore, but I still don't think it's very good.
Yeah.
So, they still need to score to win these football games by larger margins.
Right. Real quick note to those of you watching us in the Cleveland area and the Minneapolis area. As I said, Sunday morning's game is on the NFL Network. It is also in, if you happen to be living in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, KMSP, the Fox station, Channel 9, has the game. Minnesota, I'm sorry, that's be in Minneapolis. WEWS Channel 5, the ABC affiliate in Cleveland, has the game because they allow local broadcasts of the game if it's on the NFL Network. Kenny Albert and Jonathan Vilma will be on that call. We have bye weeks this week, the first week of bye weeks. Atlanta, Chicago, Green Bay, Pittsburgh all have the week off and will be sitting around watching the games themselves. So that's pretty much, Matthew. We've covered all of the bases. You always like to put out stuff to watch for the weekend. Give us what you want us to pay attention to.
I think in the college football in that 3:30 window, I would have Florida Texas on before I had Alabama Vanderbilt on. I just don't think. I think the only intriguing part of that Alabama Vanderbilt game is the fact that Alabama's defense is still shown they have holes. That's you came away with a lot of stuff about Alabama from last Saturday.
Right.
Obviously, their ability to win on the road and how good their offense looked. But you also need to come away and realize that Georgia ran the football for over 200 yards. Right. Kind of had to away with that defensive line for a good majority of the game. So, Diego Pavia and the boys are probably going to put up some points. I don't know if they're going to be able to score with Bama, though. In that game, it would be a great story and probably honestly a kickoff to a Diego Pavia Heisman campaign if Vanderbilt were to pull that off. But I think you're going to watch the. I think we're more likely going to be tuning in at 3:30 to watch the death of Texas in Gainesville.
Well, The eyes of Texas are upon them, as the old saying goes. So we'll see. Uh, Sounds like a lot of fun. Fact that we were both big baseball fans. There's a lot to like about the baseball over the weekend as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if your football situation isn't going the way you want it to, there's always going to be somebody playing baseball. So it's kind of that you've got that going for you this weekend.
Yep.
So those of you Giant fans, there you go. Yankees will be playing later in the day. All righty. Matthew, thanks so much. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy yourself, and you get that Kentucky game out of another win for the Dogs down there in Athens, and we'll see how things play out. And when we get back together on Monday, we'll see if indeed we have the kind of fun week that we expect we will have.
Hopefully.
Yes, sir. All right, buddy. Okay, guys. Have a great weekend. We will see you again on Monday. Take care.